bookstore. This session focuses on publishing houses sharing their experiences in developing, managing, and maximizing online bookstores for print, e-books, and audiobooks. Our panel speakers are Mr. Agno S. Almario. He is the current VP for Sales Marketing and Digital Products for Adarna House. Under his leadership, Adarna's digital group has produced apps that have won multiple international awards for the designs and development of educational technology. Ms. Jhorie Arciga is the business manager of the University of the Philippines Press. She is currently the head of its marketing division, which handles the operations of its UP Diliman bookstore, the upper shelf located at the UP Town Center, and the UP Press online store. She also assists the UP Baguio and Cebu campuses bookstores. Lastly, Attorney Andrea Pasion-Flores. She is currently the General Manager of Anvil Publishing House, which is the leading publisher of the country. And I would like to introduce the moderator for this panel, Dr. J. Neil C. Garcia, who teaches creative writing and comparative literature at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Okay, so let us now proceed with the panel discussion. Let's start with Ms. Jhorie Arciga.
I'll just say that the format is pretty straightforward. We will give each of our presenters 10 to 12 minutes to do their presentation, after which we will open the floor to discussion. Probably I'll do some synthesis of the points that were brought up, and then we process that a bit, and then the rest of the time we'll devote to Q&A. All right? Okay, so we begin with probably from the end of the table. All right?
Okay, there is no doubt that digital technology has changed the landscape of consumerism, and that it has greatly affected the traditional book publishing and retailing industries. There was even a point when the emergence of electronic books or e-books was seen as a great threat to the existence of printed books. But contrary to expectations, the printed book is still surviving, and technology is actually helping book publishers and sellers reach new audiences. We see the worldwide trend of shoppers going to the web for most of their purchases. Consumers are so much into online shopping these days. Here in the Philippines, online shopping has increased in an outstanding rate over the past years. We now have online market for all types of products, including the printed books. The University of the Philippines Press began to have online presence through its social media accounts. New releases and events are advertised through Facebook and sometimes in Instagram and Twitter. Now we even have a YouTube channel. These modes have replaced the use of flyers and printed brochures. Price lists and catalogs are can now be sent through email. Meanwhile, the UP Press website was created in 2012 but did not have the online store yet. Before, our only means of accepting online orders was through email and Facebook, where the client sent in their orders, then we email or PM back a quotation, which includes the shipping fees, and then they pay through our land bank account. Then we ship the books. If you look at it, this process still takes time. A client has to make a trip to the nearest land bank branch, land bank, to pay for their purchase. The major driving force behind the creation of the UP Press online bookstore is our desire to make book purchases much easier and convenient for our clients. Another important factor is that we wanted to reach a wider market, which we cannot cater because of the limited number of our physical bookstores. We launched the UP Press online bookstore in 2017. Okay. We already have an existing website that time, but we have to update it. By the way, our website, our web address is press.up.edu.ph. We had to update our website to comply with the civil service rule, wherein certain information about our office should be made public and available online. All UP system websites are hosted by the UP Information Technology Development Center, and all these websites adhere to a particular look and color scheme. The UP ITDC designed and integrated the online store to our website. Therefore, we cannot give an estimate as to the cost of putting up the online store. All updates to the store are done through them. We give them the new materials that need to be uploaded, and they take care of them. Even the discounts and promotions, we course through them. Another notable feature of the UP Press online bookstore is that it only accepts Visa card payments. This is one of the limitations if you are a government agency. All payments and funds must go to government-owned banks only. The payments made in our online store go to the UP Press's DBP account. So that's the only payment option we have at the moment. Also, we only deliver within the Philippines. With the absence of standard shipping free rates for different countries, as well as the high cost of such fees, we have not devised a system yet wherein we can prescribe absolute rates for international deliveries. We do accept international orders abroad, but it's through email pa rin. So they email us for their orders, and then we give them a quotation with the shipping fee, and then they wire transfer their payment to our land bank account. Okay, so we consider our online bookstore, even with its limitations, as a complement to our physical bookstores and online social media accounts. With the online store, we get to promote the UP Press titles to clients in various regions of the country, as well as abroad. We get to market our new releases without going out of the office to do field work, and clients can purchase the UP Press books without actually going to our physical bookstores. So the convenience of the online system is actually two-way. For the clients, they can purchase the books through easy transactions compared to when they will need to purchase it in a physical store. They can do it at home or anywhere they have online access. They can also purchase anytime because online stores accept orders 24 hours a day. And for the publishers, we get to, like what I mentioned before, we get to reach a wider market, and the transactions are less complicated because there's a system in place. So there is less time needed for us to facilitate the orders, and this results to less manpower, less man hours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank the NBDB for inviting me to the panel. I personally know how difficult it is to put together a literary festival. So congratulations, guys, for the great effort. Okay, truth be told, as mentioned by Neil, I feel a panel about distribution and formats might be best discussed. Well, I don't know why digital and print, or brick and mortar and online, is still something that we need to discuss. But if this is what you feel is needed, of course, we are ready to go along. But I do feel that distribution and formats might be best discussed by answering your questions rather than by my rambling on. So I did prepare something basic, very basic, to initiate discussions. So first I have to remind you that Anvil is a commercial publisher. We publish all kinds of books for different audiences. Unlike perhaps an academic press who might have one particular audience in mind, or a publisher who publishes within a certain category, we have a huge diversity to offer, and that diversity also gives us a lot of challenges. And so for us, who the book is intended for, I'll do it, don't worry. Can we go to my first slide? Thanks. Okay. So for us, who the book is intended for is an important question to determine many factors like design, language, how might the content be structured, and where it would be allocated in the physical stores, and whether it needs an e-book or an audiobook. When we think of publishing a title, we think of it primarily as a print book first. A few years ago, we used to just automatically convert the print to electronic, but we've learned that the careful thinking that goes into making the print format should also be applied to the electronic version of the book. A few years ago, we used to have a supplier who does the conversion for us, who charged us $1 rate per page, and everything was given to them almost automatically, our whole list, costing us a lot of money. It was expensive and the investment was not paying off. Now we've become more discerning in doing this and carefully choose the books we turn into ebooks. We now also do our own conversion and distribute them in the various online shops ourselves. I'd like to think we've gotten a little bit better at doing this. Our audio venture has been interesting, and though we haven't been as aggressive in the follow-through of our audio production, after Pierre Calasan's Labrador's collection, Dear Universe, we are in the process of remedying that. We have encountered a few hiccups with the production of that audiobook, maybe because we produced that audiobook ourselves. Hiring a studio, the technician, the narrator, and practically supervising every single step of the production, which is not how I would suggest it be done. Of course, perhaps we needed to go through the process or the experience to learn the process. Internationally, publishers have experienced a growth spurt in audio and a decline in e-book sales. We're certainly not there in audio sales yet. We spent more than we earned, for sure, but we are experiencing a growth in e-book sales, which is contrary to the international scenario. We don't know if the trend abroad would be the same here, that there would be a decline in ebooks and a rise in audio, but we're willing to try various ways to reach audiences. So we are following up our first venture into audio with more titles, which we hope we will produce this year. Okay, and in my notes I say, start PowerPoint. Okay, so the bulk of Anvil sales, and you've seen this, still come from our print, and they are sold in brick and mortar stores, particularly National Bookstore. But contrary to popularly held belief, NBS is not the only store where you can find Anvil books. We're in other stores as well, and we are constantly finding ways to distribute our books as widely as possible. I know people think we have it easy because we're part of the NBS group of companies, but what we do to keep pace with the changing landscape of the market that NBS is adapting to is a lot of hard work and expense. NBS has an arm's length relationship with us, treating us as a supplier, but I don't think we want it any other way. Anvil needs to carry its own weight, and honestly, that is the preferred way to keep ourselves on our toes, sharp, and attuned to the market. Aside from our physical stores, our print format books can be found in our online stores as well. Check. There you go. Where am I? Okay. We have recently come on board Shopee and Lazada, and they have proven to be viable platforms. Our ebooks, plural, can be found, in the major ebook distributors of the world, while our audiobook, singular, one audiobook, can be found in the audiobook distributors of the world. But just wait, we're still learning the ropes. We will get there with more titles. Okay. As with our print books, we find that heavy promotion is what drives attention to a particular title. Thus, whatever the format, there is an investment made in the marketing and promotion of the title and the platform. So, we promote our presence on online stores heavily, including on our website, to try to drive, and you know these words, right? Traffic to our channels. Okay, so we also try to build our social media platforms, no? And it's a conscious thing that we do to increase our followers on all our social media channels. We have a dedicated marketing team. They're young, they're hardworking, and are constantly online to engage and push our titles. At 2 a.m. in the morning, if an issue breaks out, they will answer comments. And I'm even shocked. Oh my God, you are awake. We have a blog with links. You can find our blog on our website with links to its stories sent to a database of readers. If you're getting our spam, please read. They're not just your ordinary spam. And we also create platforms for our imprints to expand our authors' reach. So we have a couple of new imprints, and we have also created platforms for them. Okay. Very quickly, I'm not say 5 minutes, I'll take 30 seconds. What I'm trying to say, for all the formats of our titles, we find that marketing them and where they can be purchased, whatever the format and where they are available, it is essential that they are discovered. And I hate this word, but it's there. It's called discoverability. And that is the key to the success of a book in the market. It tremendously helps. It underscore, boldface, italics, tremendously helps if the author is engaged with the readers. In fact, a large part of being bought is through the author's hard work at being found, whether it's in the busy shelves of a bookstore or the cluttered vastness of the internet. Check. Ay, sorry, that was too fast. Huh? Oh, there. I mean, imagine if this is a bookshop or the internet. Please help the reader find your book in that clutter. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much. I await your questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, I'm Agno. I'm from Adarna House. So, in my presentation, I'll focus more on the ebook side of things. But I do have one slide for e-commerce and another for the opportunities that I see in both markets. So, if you're not familiar, Adarna House is a children's book publisher. So, we publish illustrated, children's books, stories. Most of them are bilingual. And they're made by Filipinos. Now, since I see a lot of familiar faces here, no, may aaminin ako sa inyo. So, unlike most members of my family, I actually grew up falling in love with something other than books. So I fell in love with that device you have in your pocket, I fell in love with this, the computer in front of me. So when it was my turn to make a mark in our publishing house, this was what I did. So I turned our books into apps. So in this app particularly, it actually won an award in Japan, and they actually translated it. So the entire app is available in 3 languages. So you don't just read through the book, you actually interact with it. So it's about a girl going to the market, so you have to wake her up. And then after waking her up, the next thing that happens is you have to dress her up. So it's a very different experience. And as an app developer, we've been very lucky because we've won several international awards for the design of our technology. So may isa pa akong sikreto na sasabihin sa inyo ngayon, no? When it comes to designing apps for your books, it's very costly. It's very capital intensive, no? It takes us 6 to 9 months to complete one. So for us, it's not exactly a pragmatic solution to having your stories in digital formats, right? And another thing that I discovered was I failed to respond to one very important market to us. In a talk that that's very similar to this, I attended, I think, 4 years ago. Ang title ng talk, Pagtuturo ng Filipino gamit ang tablet devices. Tapos, familiar naman tayo lahat sa PowerPoint, di ba? Ang ginawa ng teacher na to, ganito. Yung pagtuturo ng Filipino sa tablet devices, ang ginawa niya pinicturean niya yung bawat pahina ng libro namin. Tapos yun yung nilagay niya dun sa PowerPoint niya. Of course, I know this is well beyond fair use. But what I actually felt during that demo was a huge sense of guilt. Kasi heto ako meron akong access to the content, and I know I can build the technology. So we built a solution for that. And this is now our own proprietary ebook platform. So we call it Books. So let me show you what it looks like, no? So like any other app, you open your iPad, you open the app, okay? It even works offline, no? So think of it as Netflix, but instead of having your favorite movie and series, what you have here is a collection of almost all our printed titles. Currently, I have 270 titles here. You do not purchase them by piece. You subscribe to it, no? So it's a lot like Netflix. And you have access to everything. What does it look like when you read an ebook here? It really feels like a regular book. So you flip through the pages, and you have access to the book. You can also annotate and draw on the book if you want, no? That might seem like a trivial feature, but I see a lot of teachers using that they use it as a teaching mechanism. Bilugan mo lahat ng pang-uri dito sa page na to, share mo sa akin. So it's a different way of using the book. Another thing that we do here in Books is that if you're a teacher, no, essentially for you, our stories can be used as a canvas for your lessons. We took that quite literally kasi what you can do here is you can actually insert activities between the pages that the students can answer, no? The teachers can customize. You receive immediate feedback. You know if you're wrong, you know if you're right. And to be honest, no, the students love it. So another critical feature here is I'm doing everything right now without an internet connection. So this is what our apps look like. All our books, you can see here that some of them have 3 covers kasi I actually upload, since I don't have the limits of paper, I have a bilingual edition here, a monolingual English, and a monolingual Filipino edition. So if you're the user, you can actually choose which reading experience is best for you. So there are 2 more features that I want to show you, but since we don't have an internet connection, I'll just show you the slides. Okay. So like I said earlier, ebook content. Another thing that I have here in the app is the first searchable Filipino children's dictionary with both images for every word and the ability to play and hear the pronunciation. So this is one of the features that when teachers see, they really like it. Another feature that the last one I want to show you now is we made sure that in designing our entire app that we would do it with data in mind. So when students read on our app, they can actually see, teachers can actually see how long they've read, their activity scores, you can do item analysis. It is essentially a power tool for Filipino teachers. So that's my short showcase of our ebook solution. No, some schools have even gone as far as doing action research with the app, and the results have been very positive. This is our most successful digital initiative, and since we own the platform, and like I said, I fell in love with technology first. We're very committed to improving it. So every time there's a new book, there's a new update, existing subscribers get everything. So over time, it just gets better. So that's my short story for the ebook side of things. For e-commerce, no, like my colleagues in the panel, we are available on all major platforms. No, we have our own shop, adarna.com.ph. We are part of Lazada and Shopee. In Shopee, we are already part of Shopee Mall. In Lazada, we will soon be part of Lazada Mall. So those are the segments for the trusted brands. I suggest if you're venturing into e-commerce, you must join Lazada Mall and Shopee Mall. Finding the right logistics partner for your own store is key. And on growth rate alone, e-commerce is now one of our most promising channels. And I think every publisher should make it a point to make a huge effort on this because it allows us to form a direct relationship with the customer. So that's our e-commerce story right now. One last thing, no, I hope that everyone in this session knows that when you do venture into digital, it is not exactly mutually exclusive with print. Both of them work hand in hand. The thing about digital that I think we publishers fail to understand is that it is its own medium. It has its own nuances. It has its own affordances. And if you do not adapt to that, then you will not be able to create effective content or effective stories on those platforms. Of course, for both e-commerce and ebooks, growth and user engagement numbers are really undeniable. When you see a kid using a tablet, or when you see them engage on digital format, or when you see the ease of payment and delivery of Lazada and Shopee, it would be foolish not to try to enter those channels. So that's it for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed.
We heard three very different presentations from three different kinds of publishing operations. And I think the thrust of each presentation was really determined by the nature of the operations involved. UP Press is an academic publisher. It's a university press, and its mandate is very clear. It's the official publishing house of the one and only national university of the country. So it's more service than profit. The books it publishes are the books that are deemed worthy to be published by the university community, by the editorial board of the university press, and as such, commercial viability is not necessarily the primary concern. I think that the experience of UP Press, I may speak as being part of the UP Press, is actually that the digital format and e-commerce actually are only a secondary or complementary business model for us, because the nature of the books we publish, I think it still lends itself best to print and to traditional marketing. So we have two bookshops, physical bookshops, and we are part of the state university and college system of the country, which means that they are our captive market. All these different state universities and colleges of the Philippines with libraries that all are interested in buying our books. And so in a way, we tried ebooks and that didn't quite work. And the ebook bubble has burst globally, more or less. No, we're seeing that the sales are going down, or at least the projections are not coming true. And audiobooks are on the rise, and it's more interesting. That the UP Press is actually prioritizing print over digital books. But e-commerce is something that we're interested in, and in fact, we're getting on board with Lazada very soon, and our online sales are picking up. Okay, the monster is of course Anvil. Feeding the beast, nga sabi ni Andrea during a party recently that we were at, and she has to think of everything, because they're marketing and selling and publishing all sorts of books for all sorts of markets and all sorts of readerships. And of course, the biggest takeaway from her, and I think this is very natural for Andrea, is that because she sees this whole big scene and big picture, how do you actually, if you're an author interested in getting your book out and sold, how should you be discovered? How can you be discoverable? And the digital is the global, isn't it? And the global is immense. And you can get lost in this. And so Andrea and I are in agreement that you don't just sell books. Probably you have to start thinking of selling authors and cultivating author personae and author cults, you know. And that certainly worked already for certain Anvil authors like Jessica and who else? Juday, Judian. It might work. That's something we will entertain for our academic titles, except our authors are boring and not entirely prepossessing. Sometimes, you know, very awful personalities, no? So, not quite likable, but they're very talented and wonderful authors nonetheless. Now, the most exciting for me, I don't want to be biased, is really the presentation of Agno, the most exciting presentation, because of, well, his own passion, which is how to sort of like transition from print to digital, particularly in relation to the children's book scene, and how there are affordances in digital technology that can actually enable and facilitate learning for children and make everything interactive and get even teachers involved in the process. No? So he's a software person as well, so this is his passion, and it was obvious that he actually devoted more time to it than the e-commerce part, which of course is pretty straightforward. It's been covered by the three presenters. No? But okay, I would like us to sort of like entertain the possibility, therefore, in discussing or in having our Q&A right now, of maybe directing our questions to the challenges that are being faced by these different publishing houses in transitioning from print to digital. Agno didn't quite talk about the transition. He just said that they're not opposites. They're not antagonistic to each other, print and digital. But there must be challenges, right? And I know that for UP Press, our challenge was really very simple. We were scared of piracy. It was hard to get our print authors to agree to an agreement, to sign up to an agreement to convert their print books to digital, because they were all very concerned about getting pirated. And I suppose that's because many of us actually have pirated books, pirated e-books. And no, I received them as presents. So I'm sorry, this is in academia, we require so many good academic titles. It's hard to get them, and then they're available pala, they can be downloaded, pirated, etc. So the teachers gift each other these CDs and flash drives full of libraries of books. So it was hard, right? That's the UP Press experience. And then we went on board with Flipside. And we did see sales for certain titles, and we can talk about that, but not for all. Okay? So let's kind of ask everyone else to talk about their challenges, no? The challenges faced, because Agno, you went on board when Adarna was just starting to turn digital, or had already turned digital? You're the one that did it. He started it. So maybe we begin with him and go down. Okay.
So for us, so essentially when I came into it, no, I didn't really. I think the primary thing that we got right was we built the competence in house. So I think if you really want to make digital products, those to really be used on digital mediums, it is important that as any restaurateur, you must learn how to cook. So we built the digital competence in-house. That helped a lot. It allowed us to be limber. It allowed us to be quick. When we learned about what the market wanted, we were able to pivot quickly and then build our own technology. And now we rely on that competence to always stay ahead in the digital game. So that's how it happened with us. In terms of people accepting it within the company, we didn't really have difficulty with that because even our salespeople were seeing our clients transitioning into digital. And it was very important to us to have a value proposition that would cover both bases. So if you were a client, no, if you wanted something in print, we would have that. If you wanted something in digital, we would be fully prepared and ready. So that's how it happened for us.
Follow-up question. So it's the author's choice. He chooses or she chooses if the book is to be print or to be digital, or is it something you actually have a sort of like a hand in determining?
So we actually seek permission to have them in both platforms. So we seek permission for print and we seek permission for digital.
Okay, so all right, so it's a choice, right? No, it's not a choice. They may choose only one over the other. Okay, all right. Follow-up question before we move down. The studies that are coming out now, particularly in primary education research, sort of say give us very distressing news about the effect of digital technology on young minds and how actual learning is impaired by the digital mode rather than the print mode. So are you keeping tabs on these studies? And are you prepared to go back to print? I mean, how are you affected by them, these studies?
I think the studies are still mixed. Actually, I was reading this book the other month called The Post and the Squid, which is essentially a book about neurobiology and reading on digital devices. And it's funny because the book started with this, what do you call this? I guess analogy, no? When the Greeks were transitioning from oral tradition into paper, Socrates had three problems with print. He said that it would lead to memory destruction, it would not contain truth well, it would be an unwieldy medium. If you think about it, those are the same things that we're saying about digital devices, right? So, I'm not answering your question directly because honestly, the studies are still, what do you call this? They're still not conclusive. In some cases, you may argue that, sige, ebooks are not, digital devices are not working. Is the methodology correct? Is the digital literacy curricula correct? So I think it's still very up in the air. What's important to us is we're ready with both.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the science is still not certain about that. But I think the concern is really at the age level of the child. And probably what you presented, kasi parang they're really like toddler type pa lang. No? I'm thinking, may tablets na sila. Oh my God. I actually have nieces and they're being kept away from tablets and stuff, no? Because they're quite young. Probably when they're teenagers, right? And that's fine. Okay. Now, Andrea can talk about the challenges, a whole lot of challenges faced by Anvil. We heard one, which is quite interesting, their foray into audiobooks and how, because they decided to do everything themselves, they regretted it somewhat? No, you don't? Okay, all right. So Andrea will now speak more about the challenge.
When we decided to go into to try audiobooks, we wanted to do it correctly. So I think the biggest expense there was the narrator. The narrator was a celebrity. And so we, Joy Spring, this beautiful woman with a crystal voice. Yeah, so, but to launch Anvil Audio, I don't think we would have done it na any other way. And we wanted to learn how it would work, and we needed the right content to do it. So aside from the fact that Joyce had a really fantastic voice, she had a depth in her that resonated with the poems of Tara. I think she's very literary. She really connected with the content, and that was very important for us. Because she was expensive, but she was willing to do it, which was great. And so she spent, I don't know how many hours in the evenings recording, correcting, figuring out how to say particular words. It's, without the OA drama of, that can be in audio. No, I would not rather do that. But, having said that, having experienced how much that is, and seeing prices for, let's say, a third-party supplier, and I think, wow, so cheap. So yeah, I'm not now scared to go into that format with particular titles. Because we don't have an Agno in our staff. I wish we had, then we would, develop stuff, But also, because we're a bit humongous, we need to act as quickly as we can and pick up the expertise that we are unable to develop in-house. So it's a little bit of, it's particular to our organization, as maybe for some of you, you will find what best works for you. I feel maybe for Anvil, it's very difficult to develop the talent in-house. Especially if I have no guarantee that after I develop the talent, they wouldn't leave. So I'm okay to look for the best supplier for that particular service. And one. Okay, you mentioned that the e-book bubble has burst. I'm not sure if it has here. We, I think, can say it's not a large amount, no? I mean, maybe because we don't have enough of the titles that are bagay for e-books in our list. But our e-book sales have been growing. I think from last year to this year was 89%. So it really depends, I guess, for us, what sells in print sells as an e-book. And Agno's right, there's no corruption between formats. It's really how the reader prefers to read his content.
Sir, in our case, it's actually the major hindrance is that we are a government agency, so we're governed by the Commission and Audit policy. So we cannot move as fast as we would like to. So we want to do more, but we cannot do that because of this policy.
We actually don't even have, we're not allowed to have a portal.
Yes.
Credit card portal. So we have a commercial bookshop, which is upper shelf in the UP Town Center. You still have to pay cash because we don't have a credit card sort of portal. We're not allowed. Our only credit card, that's for online transaction, not for actual transaction. Because we're not allowed. So that's the limitation that we. But then I do want to say that UP Press is in a special position because our mandate is really not profit but rather service. we're actually able to publish books that no one else would consider publishing. Books that are deemed important, that should be in libraries and that can be used by professors in teaching, but are not going to be commercially successful, we publish them. So that's an important function that at least one university press in the country should carry out, and that's the UP Press. Now, digital is global, and I'm seeing that actually no one's addressed that question of whether we're seeing, we're going into e-commerce, going into e-book publishing. Is the market still mostly Filipinos in the Philippines? Or is there a global market? The books are bilingual now, so notionally, there can be an Anglophone readership for the Adarna books outside the country. But we skirted that question because I think everyone is in agreement that we're still actually marketing our books to Filipinos in the Philippines by and large. Right? And is that a waste of opportunity? I mean, this is digital. It can be globally accessed. And why isn't it being globally accessed? Is the problem of discoverability now exponentially worse because you're throwing your Anglophone novel into the whole sort of like Anglophone ocean of novels around the world, and that's going to be harder. Okay, so let's ask Andrea first.
When I was an agent, for example, when I pick up a title and I look across me, an American publisher, for example, or a UK publisher, I don't feel like I am selling to a Filipino. I look at that publisher, I do my research on who his market is, and that's the book, wherever it comes from. In my head, when I was an agent, I wasn't really looking at the nationality of the book or the author. To me, when I read it, if it's a good book, it evoked something in me, I loved it, and the word was really love. And I was willing to spend so much money and, pitch it with as much passion as I can. That's the book I would get. And it helped that, let's say, a Pinay would sell a Pinoy or a Pinay would sell another Pinay. It helps because I had a stake in it. But I wasn't conscious that I was selling to Filipinos abroad. If I sold to Soho, for example, I was selling to Americans. And I had no problem selling a fully Filipino novel, the Philippine context. There's no apologies for it being Filipino to an international publisher. And I feel the same way for books I love in Anvil. So when I sell it abroad, for example, we have a direct relationship with Overdrive, which is an American company that sends to the U.S. libraries. They have libraries subscribed. They can't get enough. Like if they tell us, we have a YA fest, come join us, give us your YA list. And they take it. And we know how many are being read, and I don't care if they were Americans with Filipino heritage or, to me, I mean, like for example, when I was growing up, we read a lot of these international authors, and there was no color as to where the story came from. As long as it's a great story, I didn't care from which part of the world it came from, and I feel the same way for our stuff. Which is, I think, the only way to sell into the market. I mean,
put your finger on what makes a good story then. I mean, because it's quite vague, right? I mean, if you're saying that the origin of the writer of the story is not a factor, his nationality, her nationality, her culture, then what makes a good story?
When it reads wonderfully, right? When you are hooked from the first sentence and every single sentence is perfect and the end is not rushed, it's just naturally ending the pace is correct, the structure is wonderful, and you are involved with the book. I mean, any publisher in this panel will tell you, I don't know what makes it great, but I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, okay, so maybe as a creative writing major, I can say, yeah, I
It's
need the
form.
elements of the story there, character, plot,
Yeah.
setting, theme. But really now, at the end of the day, you throw that out the window and just say, does it make me sit up from my seat and just make me drop everything? Because we read hundreds and hundreds of stuff. And when I was an agent, really, okay will not cut it.
Yeah.
Ang daming okay, ang daming pwede na. It has to be a standout. That's the only way to stand out. The clutter.
Yes. But
You must
are the
have a
Anvil
champion.
books, are any of your Anvil books now like that? And are they being globally bought?
Yes, some of them are. We have sold some rights. We have, yes. I mean, you really have to find the market for your titles. And it's really plowing through all sorts of things, and getting out there. Yeah, we're applying
Yeah.
for 2 more this year, hopefully, if we are
Yeah.
able to do it. Yeah.
Let's talk later because we might have some books that are going to be.
I can only sell Anvil stuff. Are you publishing with us?
No, but you share strategies with us. No, I'm kidding. But are the Adarna books being bought internationally? Would you have studies or figures for that?
No, actually, for us, I think both in terms of size and our focus, the primary target is really the Filipino parent, the Filipino teacher, the Filipino child. So if they do buy outside the Philippines, sure, why not? But do we deliberately target the global market? Not really.
Jhorie, what are the sales figures for our international orders? Do we have any? What's the trend?
Yeah, we do have orders from abroad, but the difficulty here is that it's very expensive to ship the books. They do, but when they see the shipping cost, usually they don't continue with the transaction because most of the time the shipping fee is higher than the actual cost of the book.
Distributors who have approached us, distribute their books in other countries, and they can, and they, like in Europe, for example, we're talking to someone who says, we are finding that there is the long tail, right? I mean, we're not in the, let's say, we're not in here. I mean, we're not in the bestsellers, but we're probably in the, maybe a few of them are buying these long tail titles, right? So what they want to do is consolidate this because all over the world, it is a very diverse community now. I mean, you go to Europe, you walk the streets, you don't really hear a lot of English. You hear a lot of all sorts of languages. And they're finding that many of those many immigrants have a desire to read books from home. And so there are a lot of these things that are wanting to distribute books from different countries into several territories. So that might be a solution for you.
Maybe a good solution would be to actually. Are we done? Okay. Like the whole session is finished? Everything's finished. Now we take. All right. So let's see. Open the floor to any questions you may have. Yes.
I made notes. And this is addressed to Adarna and Anvil. Particularly, this is your children's format, but your YA format, and which was something that Andrea touched on earlier. You, instead of perceiving ebooks and the online platform as the other format, what I've noticed with Jano Sila is that it's a companion format. So in what book are we on? 4. Um, Edgar Samar would sell chapters on Patreon. And then even without the book coming out, and then when the book comes out, nagdadagsa yung sales. So nagge-generate na siya ng market for himself even before the book comes out. And then this is the same behavior with Summit Media kay Jonax. She sells chapters by chapters, and then when the print comes out, she has millions of buyers. So I earlier in the session, earlier in the afternoon, we were talking about how to make a robust market for books. And then Andrea mentioned earlier, discoverability. Would like to ask what your opinion is, or rather, how do we build upon this kind of behavior of companion formats instead of preferred formats?
Those authors are a publisher's dream, right? they they know how to sell their own work. They are out there. They're cultivating a cult for themselves and their work. But I think yes, you want to talk about the companion rather than the opposite or yes. Okay, all right.
I honestly think it's great. Like you said, it's any publisher's dream, right? And I think what these authors have realized is that by leveraging these digital platforms, they can actually convert into more print. And for us, it's about enabling that value chain, so to speak. Like, how do we create more opportunities like that? For example, this is quite anecdotal, but I read an article the other day about how the primary marketing tool for business books in the US are now podcasts, because it's so easy to convert buyers. When you first listen to them, you give them a pulpit to showcase how intelligent they are. People just start buying their books afterwards. That's why you see so many foreign podcasts featuring these authors. If you could somehow build that sort of value chain in the Philippines, I think it would be valuable. I just don't know at what stage we are right now. And, like what you said, Egay is a great example. He's really trying the boundaries of technology.
May questions pa po from the
Can I
audience?
answer that other question? So for Anvil, we have a partnership now with Wattpad. So we created an imprint called Bliss. And what we're seeing is the author with the following, it's the same. It's the author that will sell more print. When we had Alan Lau, who is one of the founders of Wattpad, over, what he said Wattpad is selling is not the content, not just the content, but the experience of reading, or the experience of the story, for example. So that for me, when we decided that this might be something fantastic to go into, I was conscious that the reader who might buy Bliss books have already read the content online. The thing to do was to love the content even more, so that, well, we have examples there. They want to own the object. So the object, we thought, needs to be worth, where's Christian? 600 pesos. It has to be beautiful. So, and then, because it's for a particular market, it might not be, let's say, the academic scholarly reader, because they are on Wattpad, and the majority of our readers are on Wattpad. We are number 3 in the world. US, Indonesia, and the Philippines would be next. That means I need to keep it at a certain price point. And in that price point, I need to make sure that everything that reader wants, I am able to give. And so that, but I still have to be a little bit different from the online content, right? So, yeah, so the authors, for example, they'll put in bonus chapters, stuff like that. If you touch the covers of our Bliss books, you can't stop touching them because they're embossed, stuff like that. So, though it's the whole experience with the book and with the author. So, for example, and I really was floored by this when the Wattpad manager for Asia was, we had this meeting with this author, and fans, they're not just readers, they are fans. They love her like an Iranian loves Nora. They built, for example, a Facebook page. Let's say they call themselves something. We have a title there. It's really funny. It's called Prince of Hell. And then I learned that their names, they call themselves the Helians. Oh my God. The Helians. Okay. So the Helians, if you're a VIP Helian, there is a volunteer admin for that page. And, the author can sell merchandise on that. Yeah, and it's picked up. Like, for example, also on Wattpad, how all these ads pop up when you read stuff, right? Okay, sometimes, the readers know that the author can earn from the ads, and because they love the author, they want to help the author. So what will they do? They read it now. They'll scroll because they only get paid if they pass the ad. So they'll scroll until the end. So it's different, no, when the author is really engaged, and that's great that Edgar's doing that because it's the only way.
Okay, Cupcake, you're part of UP Press, and you do know we have a YouTube channel, and all our new authors are there asking all sorts of silly questions and trying to be cute and likable, but I don't think it's working. I don't know what else to do, actually. Maybe we should start auctioning them off, like a free date or something with Jimmy Abad or whatever. No, but iba, yeah, I know. Pero meron yun, may fans yun, di ba? Okay, thank you so much. I think we really are absolutely have absolutely no more time left. So thank you. We pass the mic on to the organizer.
Okay, again, we would like to thank our panelists, Dr. Neil, Mr. Agno, Attorney Andrea, and Ms. Jhorie, for sharing with us their knowledge and expertise. So, also, we would like to thank all the attendees of today's session. So, we hope to see you again tomorrow. We have more sessions po tomorrow, whole day siya. It will start at 9 a.m. So, dito din po, Dynasty, Penthouse, and then Princess Rooms. And reminder lang po, no, meron po kaming evaluation forms na nilagay sa tote bags ninyo. Please submit it to the registration and trade it with your certificates of attendance. Again, thank you. See you tomorrow.